Look again and you're fired. The billionaire heiress smirked, until the single dad lifted his card. Tech Hall shimmered under icy blue lights, its glass walls mirroring a crowd of hundreds in sleek black suits. On stage, a young billionaire heiress in a vibrant red dress smiled, her expression one of cold calculation. An engineer, focused on his task, briefly glanced at the experimental chip display. Her voice, sharp and cutting, sliced through the air. Peek again and you're fired. Laughter erupted across the auditorium. In the back, amidst the sea of designer attire, a man in worn work clothes carefully placed his silver hard hat on the table. He pulled out a black metal card, raising it into the lights. A bright hologram swirled into view, and the heiress's confident smile instantly vanished. Noah Grant, 35, stood in an employee break room, his hands still bearing the precision of an engineer despite being callous from construction work, helped his 8-year-old daughter, Lila, pack her art supplies. "Daddy, look what I drew for the big meeting." Lila held up her sketch pad, revealing a crayon drawing of a bridge connecting two buildings. "It's a bridge that connects the workers with the machines, see? So everyone can understand each other better." Noah smiled, studying her innocent vision of cooperation between technology and humanity. "That's beautiful, sweetheart. Very thoughtful." 3 years had passed since Noah left his career as a hardware engineer at Vail Innovations. After his wife's unexpected death, he made the difficult choice to step away from the demanding tech world to focus on Lila. The construction job paid less, but offered the flexibility he needed. Tonight was different though. Vail Innovations was launching their revolutionary Aryan chip, and as part of a community initiative, they'd invited local workers and families. Noah had been selected, presumably to showcase the company's connection to the working class. Vail Tech Hall was just as Noah remembered from his engineering days. Polished glass, pristine lighting, an atmosphere that radiated innovation and immense wealth. The stark contrast between his work clothes and the expensive suits around him was impossible to ignore. At the registration table, the PR coordinator eyed Noah with thinly veiled distaste. "Mr. Grant, our community representative tonight." She handed him a general audience badge and gestured toward the back. "We've reserved seats in the rear section. Your work attire is quite authentic for our diversity messaging, though it does stand out." Lila's small hand slipped into Noah's as they were directed to the very last row, far from the VIP section where investors and tech leaders mingled with champagne. "Daddy," Lila whispered, "why did that lady look at us funny?" "Some people judge others by their clothes, not their character," Noah replied softly, adjusting the silver hard hat he carried. It was a tool of his trade, but also something more personal, something Lila didn't yet understand. Inside the hard hat's lining, carefully protected, lay a black metal card, its existence known to very few. The legacy card, a relic from his past, from the days he'd helped design the very systems Vail Innovations was now celebrating. As they settled into their seats, cameras discreetly swept the community section, capturing diverse faces for the company's inclusive branding, yet offering no real voice. A production assistant approached their row. "Just a reminder, please keep conversations to a minimum during filming. We want to maintain the professional atmosphere." The message was clear. They were props expected to be seen, not heard. Lila clutched her sketch pad, gazing wide-eyed at the impressive tech displays. Her drawing of bridges and connections seemed almost naive in this environment of corporate power. Noah caught sight of Arya Vail, the young heiress who'd recently taken control from her father, reviewing her notes on stage. She moved with the ingrained confidence of someone who had never doubted her place in the world. The lights dimmed as Arya Vail, 26, took the stage, her movements fluid and assured, a woman born to power. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice perfectly clear through the cutting-edge sound system. "Tonight, we don't just launch a product. We launch the future." The presentation was flawless. Holographic displays, seamless transitions and tech demonstrations that drew gasps of amazement. The Aryan chip represented years of development and billions in investment. But Noah noticed something else from the back row. The company motto, proudly displayed on banners, read, "The future belongs to those who stay humble." The irony was sharp, given the condescending treatment he and Lila had just received. As demonstrations continued, Arya's gaze occasionally drifted to the back of the auditorium, her comments taking on a subtle personal edge. Innovation requires vision, she declared, gesturing to a holographic display. Some people are meant to create the future, while others are better suited to observe from a distance, without touching what they cannot truly understand. The cameras dutifully captured reaction shots, including a brief sweep of the community seating. A few chuckles rippled through the VIP section. The humiliation deepened during the Q&A. The MC theatrically scanned the auditorium before adding with a smirk, "We welcome questions from our technical experts and industry leaders, though perhaps we should keep things at an appropriate level for our diverse audience." More laughter from the front rows. Lila shifted, sensing the dismissive tone. The situation climaxed when Arya chose to make an example of one of her own engineers. A young specialist diligently monitoring the chip demonstration, occasionally glanced at diagnostic readouts. Arya noticed his professional attention and seized the opportunity for what she clearly considered entertainment. "Excuse me," she said, her voice cutting with surgical precision. "I believe I told everyone this is a presentation, not a hands-on workshop." The engineer looked up, confused and embarrassed. "Ma'am, I was just checking the system diagnostics to ensure." "Peek again and you're fired." The words struck the auditorium like a physical blow. The engineer's face flushed crimson as cameras captured his humiliation. Cruel laughter erupted from parts of the audience. Lila tugged Noah's sleeve. "Daddy, why is everyone laughing?" "He was just doing his job." Noah's jaw tightened, but he remained composed. Sometimes people laugh when they should be standing up for what's right. As the presentation resumed, Lila opened her sketch pad and quietly pointed to a large display screen. "Daddy, the logo on your card. It looks exactly like the one on the screen." Noah glanced over. Indeed, Vale Innovations' founding logo, a stylized bridge connecting two circuit patterns, was identical to the emblem embossed on the legacy card in his hard hat. "A long time ago, sweetheart. Daddy helped design that symbol." The revelation, meant only for Lila's ears, carried a weight of history lost on most in the auditorium. Meanwhile, Arya continued with growing confidence, emboldened by the audience's reaction. Her smirk became more pronounced, her comments sharper. "Technology leadership requires decisive action," she declared. "We cannot allow sentimentality or misplaced egalitarianism to compromise our standards. Some people simply do not belong in spaces designed for innovation and excellence." The statement was general enough to sound like business philosophy, but its timing made it clear it was aimed at the back rows. Noah remained perfectly still, his expression unchanged, but his hand moved almost imperceptibly toward his silver hard hat. The tension in the auditorium built. Phones discreetly recorded. Social media buzzed with clips of the engineer's humiliation. Lila quietly continued her drawing, adding details to her bridge. Her simple act of creation stood in stark contrast to the performance of destruction unfolding on stage. "Remember," Arya concluded her segment with a final smirk, "the future belongs to those who know their place in it." The applause was thunderous, but Noah noticed that while the VIP section clapped enthusiastically, many technical staff and younger employees seemed uncomfortable, their applause perfunctory. The moment for silence was ending. Arya's applause faded, but her confidence remained at its peak. She surveyed the auditorium, satisfied with her performance of technological superiority and social dominance. She decided to push her advantage further, returning to the humiliated engineer. With a cold, calculated smile, she spoke directly into the microphone, ensuring her words reached every corner of the hall and the global live stream. "As I was saying," she announced with theatrical emphasis, "peek again and you're fired." The repeated humiliation sparked another wave of cruel laughter from the VIP section. The engineer's shoulders sagged as cameras captured his defeat. The message was clear. This was the consequence of overstepping designated roles. But then something extraordinary happened. Noah Grant stood up. Not dramatically, not with fanfare or shouting. He simply rose from his seat in the back row with the calm deliberation of someone who had made an unchangeable decision. His movement was subtle at first, barely noticeable. But as Noah reached for his silver hard hat and carefully placed it on the table, his precise, measured actions began to draw attention. He opened the hat's liner and withdrew something that caught the auditorium's blazing spotlights in an unexpected way. a black metal card that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. Noah raised the card above his head, holding it steady. The effect was immediate and stunning. The card's surface came alive with embedded holographic technology, projecting a swirling pattern of light impossible to ignore. As the hologram stabilized, an elegant signature appeared. Marcus Vale, along with the date from 15 years earlier. The auditorium fell into absolute silence. Aria's confident smirk didn't just fade. It vanished, as if surgically removed. Her hands trembled slightly as she stared at something she'd heard about in family stories, but never actually seen. What is that?" someone whispered from the VIP section. Noah's voice carried clearly through the suddenly quiet hall, calm and steady, as if giving a routine technical briefing. "This is a founder's card. One of only 5 ever created by Marcus Vale when he established this company." The revelation hit the room like a seismic shock. Phones appeared throughout the audience. The global live stream watched as a maintenance worker produced one of the tech industry's most legendary artifacts. "Each card," Noah continued, his engineering background evident in his precise explanation, "contains override authority for Vale Innovation's core systems. They were designed to ensure the company's founding principles could never be compromised, regardless of who held executive positions." With deliberate care, Noah walked down the aisle toward the front. The sea of expensive suits parted before him as if he carried something radioactive. When he reached the main presentation console, Noah inserted the founder's card into a slot most people assumed was purely decorative. The response was immediate and dramatic. Every screen in the auditorium switched from the Aryan chip demonstration to display a single message: "Override active. Founder protocol initiated." But then came a second twist, even more powerful. As the system came online under founder authority, hidden programming activated, programming not seen since the company's earliest days. The main display screen filled with text that slowly materialized as if written by an invisible hand. "The future belongs to those who stay humble." It was the company motto, but not the sanitized version printed on banners. This was the original, complete message, as Marcus Vale had written it, embedded in the company's core systems, accessible only through founder-level authentication. The text continued to appear. "Innovation serves humanity, not ego. Leadership protects the vulnerable, not the powerful. Technology builds bridges, not walls." The auditorium was transfixed. This wasn't just corporate messaging. It was the philosophical foundation of a company that had somehow lost its way. Arya stood frozen on stage, staring at words her father had programmed into the company's DNA, before she was old enough to understand their meaning. But Noah wasn't finished. He turned to face the audience, the founder's card still glowing in the console behind him. "A company that forgets humility," he said, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who understood the technology he was operating, "becomes blind to its own purpose." The words landed with devastating precision, not as an accusation, but as a simple statement of technical fact. From the back, Lila held up her sketch pad. The movement was small, barely noticeable, but the presentation system, now operating under founder protocols, somehow detected and amplified it. Lila's crayon drawing of a bridge appeared on the massive display screens throughout the hall, replacing corporate logos and technical specifications with a child's vision of connection and understanding. The contrast was breathtaking. A hand-drawn bridge, connecting workers and machines, created with crayons and innocence, displayed on screens worth millions in one of the tech industry's most exclusive venues. The global live stream audience witnessed something unprecedented. A fundamental challenge to corporate power delivered not through violence or protest, but through the company's own foundational principles. Chat feeds exploded with hashtags. Hashtag stay humble, hashtag bridge not walls, hashtag founder protocol. Arya remained motionless on stage, her red dress stark against the simple drawing now dominating every screen. The engineer she had humiliated stared at the display with wonder, understanding that something profound had just shifted in his workplace. The founder's card continued to glow in the console, waiting. For several long moments, the auditorium remained frozen in stunned silence. The global live stream continued, broadcasting this unprecedented confrontation to millions, witnessing a complete reversal of corporate power dynamics in real time. Arya finally found her voice, though it lacked the confident authority she displayed just minutes earlier. "That card, it's obsolete," she said, her words echoing through the silent hall via her still active microphone. Whatever historical significance it may have had, it doesn't change the present reality of how this company operates. But even as she spoke, Aria's eyes remained fixed on the glowing console, where Noah's founder's card had activated systems she had never seen before. The override protocols were displaying information that challenged her fundamental understanding of her own company. Noah approached the console with the calm confidence of someone who understood exactly what he was operating. His fingers moved across the interface with practiced precision, navigating menus that hadn't been accessed in over a decade. "Let me show you what present reality actually looks like," he said, his engineering background evident in how effortlessly he manipulated the company's core systems. The massive display screens began showing internal company data that painted a very different picture than Aria's glossy presentation. Customer satisfaction ratings, employee retention statistics, and innovation metrics, all trending downward over the past 2 years since Aria had assumed control. But the most damning information was yet to come. Founder protocol includes continuous monitoring of company culture, Noah explained, his voice authoritative. Every interaction, every decision, every policy change is evaluated against the original founding principles. A new screen appeared, showing a real-time analysis of leadership behavior. The data was stark and undeniable. Under Aria's leadership, employee morale had plummeted, creative output had declined, and the company had drifted away from its founding mission of using technology to bridge human divides. The PR manager, who had earlier dismissed Noah's attire, now stared at the displays with visible panic. The same cameras that had captured his condescending comments were now recording his obvious discomfort, as the company's internal failings were exposed on live television. Henry Morrison, the chief operating officer, stepped forward from the VIP section, his face showing a mixture of recognition and relief. "The founder protocol requires verification of philosophical alignment," Henry said, addressing the auditorium but clearly speaking to Aria. "We've triggered a mandatory review process that can't be overridden by executive authority." The humiliation reversal was complete. The same audience that had laughed at the engineer's embarrassment was now watching their CEO and leadership team struggle for credibility, as their own systems exposed the gap between public messaging and actual performance. But Noah wasn't interested in humiliating anyone. His next action demonstrated something far more powerful than revenge. He turned to Lila, still holding her sketch pad in the back row. "Sweetheart, would you like to show everyone your bridge?" The invitation was simple, but its implications were profound. After an entire evening of being told that children should be seen and not heard, Noah was giving his daughter the most prominent platform in the tech industry. Lila walked down the aisle with the fearless confidence only children possess. When she reached the console, Noah helped her place her drawing on a scanner that displayed it across every screen in the building. The bridge she had drawn connected two sides labeled people and technology, but as the high-resolution scanners captured every detail, the audience could see something remarkable. Lila had included tiny figures representing every type of person: workers, engineers, executives, families, even children. "I drew it so nobody gets left out," Lila explained, her young voice carrying clearly through the sound system. "Bridges work best when everyone can use them." The simplicity of her explanation stood in stark contrast to the corporate hierarchy that had been on display just minutes earlier. The global livestream chat exploded. #BridgeNotWalls began trending worldwide as viewers shared the image of a child's drawing that had captured something profound about technology's true purpose. Noah placed his hand gently on Lila's shoulder and spoke to the audience one final time. Marcus Vail designed this company to build bridges between human need and technological capability, not to create barriers between people based on their job titles or bank accounts. He gestured toward the founder's card, still glowing in the console. "This isn't about the past. It's about whether we choose to honor the principles that created something worthwhile, or abandon them for the ego gratification of feeling superior to others." Aria stood motionless on stage, her red dress a stark contrast to the simple work clothes Noah wore with quiet dignity. The engineer she had threatened with firing now stared at the displays with obvious admiration for the man who had defended him. The presentation had transformed from a corporate product launch into something unprecedented. A live demonstration of how foundational principles could challenge institutional power when wielded by someone who understood both the technology and the human values it was meant to serve. The auditorium remained silent, waiting to see if this confrontation would end with reconciliation or complete corporate transformation. The presentation officially ended, not with applause or celebration, but with a profound silence that spoke louder than any ovation. The corporate music that should have accompanied the closing credits never played. Noah approached the console where his founder's card continued to glow. He carefully removed it, but rather than returning it to his hard hat, he left it sitting openly on the presentation table. "The card stays here," he said quietly, "available to anyone who understands what it represents." The gesture was powerful in its simplicity. He wasn't claiming permanent authority, but leaving a tool of accountability where it could be accessed by those willing to use it responsibly. Lila took her bridge drawing from the scanner and taped it directly onto the event poster bearing the Aryan chip logo. The small, colorful artwork seemed to transform the entire corporate display, adding human warmth to cold technological precision. The cameras captured this final symbolic act as Noah lifted Lila onto his shoulders, and they walked toward the exit. No one tried to stop them or demand interviews. The father and daughter simply left the way they had come, quietly with dignity, letting their actions speak for themselves. Arya remained on stage, staring at the legacy card that now lay unguarded on the table. The screens throughout the auditorium still displayed the founder's original motto: "The future belongs to those who stay humble." The engineer who had been humiliated earlier cautiously approached the table, studying the card that had defended him when no one else would. Other technical staff began gathering around, drawn by curiosity about systems they had never known existed within their own company. Henry Morrison stepped forward from the VIP section. "We need to schedule that mandatory review," he said, his voice carrying new authority. "Starting tomorrow." The global livestream continued broadcasting these final moments to millions, witnessing a technology company forced to confront its own founding principles in real time. As the crowd began to disperse, the display screens maintained their new message. The founder's card remained accessible on the table, and Lila's bridge drawing stayed taped to the corporate poster. The story ended with questions rather than answers. Would the company actually change? Would the principles survive institutional pressure? Would someone else pick up the legacy card when it was needed again? The future belongs to those humble enough to find out. If you had a legacy card to fix one injustice you see today, what would you use it for? Share your thoughts.